Well, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. I know a new year. Let's go ahead and get started. If you're able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pate.
Here.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Here.
Councilmember Hands.
Here.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Here.
Councilmember Leahy.
Here.
Councilmember Neal.
Here.
Councilmember Ryder.
Here.
Councilmember Silvers.
Here.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Here.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item up is public items. Members of the public are encouraged to use this time to make comments about matters that do not appear on the agenda. Comments about items on the regular agenda will be taken up as each item is considered. Please note individuals make public comments will have 5 minutes to do so. We do have one person signed up here, and it's at this point anyway, it's Kathy Rowe, and it looks like it's on the legislative agenda. That's when you go speak. So don't let me slip by you, but sometimes I missed you, but my goal is to make sure you get to speak at that when we get to that one. Okay. Does anybody else have anything for the public agenda? You don't necessarily have it signed up, but that doesn't mean you can't come forward. Okay. Since there's only 3 of you really out there, I don't think the chief's coming up. But okay, well, we will move right along then to next item up is the consent agenda. All items under this heading are considered to be routine by the City Council, may be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless the council members so request, in which case that item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Considering that I only see one item on the consent agenda, does anybody have any questions concerning that? Or if not, I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda. Okay, Mr. Silvers.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve the consent agenda item 1.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second? Ms. Shadridge.
Mr. Mayor, I second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion second.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item up is the mayor's report, and the first item up would be the Employee Service Awards, which I believe we're going to probably just move that to the next meeting, Mr. Hill. Okay, so we're going to scratch that. I do have a few things in addition to that that's on my report. I always like to talk a little bit about what's been going on, and of course we did have an extended time since then, so there's a few items. But I know we had a public art open house meeting that was attended by council members Yodrich, Leahy, and Caldwell. And I think that was the only 3 that were currently there, unless I missed anybody, but I think that's right. And that was chaired by our public art coordinator advisor, Julia Dixon. Public was invited to attend that, and I guess was a pretty decent turnout in reference to that, which hopefully they'll help to decide what to do with our $550,000 over the next 5 years from that art plan that's being devised, and we'll be hearing more about that in the upcoming month. Then after that, or the next night, there was a public art committee meeting, and council members Silvers and Yodrich, I think, attended that. That's correct. All right. So let's thank you for representing us at those committees. I attended a reception for the Johnson County Commissioner Chairman Mike Kelly. Got to learn about some of the great things that the county's done in the 2023, and got to interact with some of the other community leaders in the county. I attended the Northeast Johnson County Mayor's Holiday Social Meeting. Okay, it is at this meeting that all Northeast Johnson County, past Northeast Johnson County mayors and the current ones are invited to attend. I got to meet a lot of the past mayors, some of them that I had never met before, and Mayor Sissom was there. I sat with him at his table. It appears, and several people said, that all of these past mayors are looking like 10 years younger now that they're out of office. I can only hope that's going to hold true when I'm gone, but anyway, they do look well, and they all appreciate the opportunity to meet with us. Okay, I hosted the Johnson County and Wyandotte County Mayor's Dinner down at our Merriam Community Center. All of our staff did a really good job of putting that on. Okay, we invited, at this last meeting, the first of the year here, we invited our U.S. representatives and senators to the meeting to give an update on the pertinent initiatives that are taking effect in our communities from a national level. Representative Sharice Davids and her staff, Patrick Hampton and Ann Hucker, attended our meeting. There was a lot of discussion about federal grants and that were available to us. And I thanked Representative Davids for her assistance in obtaining our Corps of Engineer grants and how good that they've been to work with. So hopefully I also alerted her we may be needing a little more money, so keep that on her radar. But then they wanted to take a tour of the community center, so I took them for a little tour, and they're real impressed. And I encouraged them to utilize our community center for any of her meetings that she might that need to have take place here in Johnson County. So then Senator Marshall was unable to attend, but he sent his district director, Tammy Bartonek, to represent him, and Representative Jake LaTurner was unable to attend, but he sent his district director, Jeff Carnes. Key takeaways from all of those individuals was that there are federal grants out there and that we should be taking advantage of them. And then I told them that our staff would be reaching out to them. And I've got all those cards and names and numbers and stuff, which you probably already have, but I got them again. So we'll be hopefully getting some more money from the government. I attended the Overland Park Fire Department award ceremony, which just happened. Thank you, Chief, for inviting us to attend that. There was a life-saving award that was given out for somebody that did CPR from the public and saved an individual, so they got recognized as well. And they also recognized all the people in the 2023 that were promoted to different positions itself. And of course, even though our Chief Allen has been chief for a few months, he got recognized as well and got his official badge, even though he's kind of been wearing it, not early, but but all of those individuals were recognized, and for a lot of different things that they've done too that were important throughout the last year itself. It's real good that you recognize your firefighters and EMS personnel. Okay, I also want to give a big shout out to our public works crews, which who are out there, taking care of our streets right now, and also to Catch My Drift, which is our new snowplow. In case you guys haven't seen that, that's the name of the new snowplow. So it's out there on its virgin voyage of plowing the streets. So I want to recommend, or at least alert people to upcoming events that are going to be happening. Northeast Chamber of Commerce is hosting a State of the Cities address at the Overland Park Marriott on January 11th at 11 a.m. That's when it starts. We have a lot to be proud about what's occurred in Merriam, and I'll be sharing all that information with all the other attendees at that event. I know a lot of you have already signed up. But a Flags for Freedom meeting will occur at 5:30 p.m. on January 11th. And the Tim Murphy art reception will also be occurring that evening at the community center at 7 p.m. on the 11th. Shawnee Mission North is hosting a reception at the high school acknowledging all Johnson County elected officials on the 12th of January. That event starts at 5:30 at my old alma mater there at Shawnee Mission North on Johnson Drive. Hopefully you can attend. They did want an RSVP so they could kind of find out who all was attending. If you haven't RSVP'd yet, I think it was supposed to be due today, but I bet we could probably get your name in tomorrow if you want to try to attend that event and take a tour of the school and kind of find out what Shawnee Mission North's all about. As you know, Martin Luther King Jr. holiday will be occurring on January 15th, and I think that's a national holiday, so offices will be closed. January 19th from 8:30 to 10 a.m., the First Suburbs will be conducting a Zoom meeting, and anyone can attend, but you got to register for that. So if you don't have that link, reach out to staff, and they will get you that link to attend that meeting if you would like to. And then the last thing I have for upcoming events is local government days coming up at the state capitol on January 24th. And I think Caitlin, is going to be the contact person for that. So if you haven't reached out to her to attend that, please do so shortly so that we know who's going. For those that haven't attended that in the past, basically we go up there, meet our local senators and representatives for the state, have a little lunch with them, get a chance to meet with them one-on-one, and then we go to the it's not really the Capitol, but it goes some other building over there. But anyway, they'll get us to the right location itself. That's at 3 p.m. And we'll hear about the state of the state, or how the state's doing, I guess, is we'll hear about at that level. That's the only things I know coming up. Yeah, Mr. Silvers, go ahead.
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to mention. For the past year and a half or so, I've been attending the Merriam Drainage District Board meetings, which I failed to bring up here, but I did want to mention that it's a public meeting and anyone can attend. It's the first Monday of the month. So the last one was on a Tuesday because of it was on January 2nd, but it's listed on their website, and it's pretty interesting to see where that money's going.
Thank you for bringing that up and alerting us to when that is and where to go. We appreciate it. Anybody else have anything else that I missed that I didn't know about that you might have done? Okay. All right. Well, having done that, then I always like to say there's a lot of things we do or there's a lot of things that's coming up for our next meeting. Okay, I think council items. Gosh, it looks like first item up on council items is it's time for us to, we're at a new year, and we're going to be electing a council president and a vice president this evening. And I would assume that we might have some individuals that are interested in those positions. And I would put forward an opportunity for either to self-nominate yourself or have somebody else, if you would like to nominate an individual for a particular position. So typically, I think it's been the past that we've conducted it. We've done the president, council president first, elected that individual, and then we've gone to the second position of the vice president. So let's start with the council president. Do we have any nominations? Okay, Ms. Yandridge.
I'd like to nominate Chris Hands as council president. She's the existing council president and does a great job in that role.
Thank you, Ms. Yandridge. Do we have a second? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Ryder.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So we'll put her on the list. Is there anyone else that is interested in that position at this time or would like to nominate another individual for that position? Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just like to say that I would be very willing to continue as being president as long as you stay healthy.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to try to. That's my goal anyway, is to try to. That's actually my New Year's resolution, is to try to be healthier by 2025. So
Excellent.
we'll see how that works out. Didn't work out too well in 24, but okay. Well, I see no other hands going up at this time. So at this point, what would you have us do?
In the past, we've done index cards and written the name on it, but we could do just a roll call vote if everybody's okay with that too.
What's the pleasure of the council? Since we only have one person, I would be inclined to allow that. Okay.
Okay, we'll do
Since there's only one currently up, why don't we do that?
roll call. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Councilmember Hands.
I will vote for myself.
Councilmember Caldwell.
I will vote for Chris Evans.
Councilmember Leahy.
I'll vote for Councilwoman Chris Hands, Evans Hands.
Councilmember Neal. Okay, is your microphone on?
It's been a while.
There we go.
Chris Hands.
All right. Councilmember Ryder.
Chris Hands.
Councilmember Silvers.
Chris Hands.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Councilmember Hands.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Councilmember Hands.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay. Thank you.
Congratulations.
for stepping forward to do that. Next position up then would be for the position of vice president. I would entertain motions for the position of council vice president. Ms. Hands?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to nominate Whitney Yardridge, who has been our vice president for the last 2 years, and is great at following up when I can't.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second for Ms. Yadrich's position? Okay, Mr. Cudlow.
I would like to second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, before we move on, is there any other position, or anybody else that would like to be nominated for that position? Go ahead, Ms. Yadrich.
I just want to say I would do that as well, and I've enjoyed learning from both of you, and would love to continue to learn from council leadership.
And we appreciate you filling in that position. So, is there, okay, we're all good? I don't see any other hands going up for one to be nominated or to nominate someone else. At that point, I would say let's just do a voice call again. Roll
Okay.
call.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Councilmember Yarbridge.
Councilmember Leahy.
Councilwoman Yadrick.
Councilmember Neal.
Councilwoman Yodrich.
Councilmember Ryder.
Councilwoman Whitney Aldridge.
Councilmember Silvers.
Whitney Yadrich.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Yeah.
I'm going to take stock of how many you can pronounce my last name.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Councilmember Hands.
And I happily vote for Whitney Yodrich.
Motion passes 8-0. Congratulations.
I was kind of hoping Councilman Shades would be in, but. Okay, well, moving on then. Thank you both for volunteering to serve and for serving for the next 2 years. That's a 2-year position. Okay, the next item up is consider approval of the 24 legislative agenda. And before we do anything for taking I mean, you could stay there, Ms. Guard, but don't let me move on to that until we get Ms. Roebank up. So, okay, take it away.
Good evening. I think this is my first presentation to you all, and I'm very excited. This is something that I like to do in my previous roles. I've done the legislative agenda for other communities, and it's very interesting what happens out in Topeka, and so I'm excited to continue it. But for the record, I'm Caitlin Gard. I'm the Assistant City Administrator here. Included in your packet this evening is the proposed legislative agenda for 2024 for our state delegation. There are a few changes as outlined in your packet, and we are more than happy to discuss those tonight. If there is a number of requested changes, you certainly don't have to adopt this agenda tonight. We can go back and we can research anything that you'd like, but we tried to not only look at the legislation that was passed last year and adjust the agenda based on that, but also what our neighboring communities are doing, what we think our legislators are going to do this year, and et cetera. So we think it's pretty comprehensive, but please interrupt me, or if you have questions, just let me know throughout. But the major changes, as outlined in your packet, the first one is we separated out commercial property valuation. It was included in the tax policy bullet before. However, we think that it's very important. It's a topic that is certainly going to be brought up at the legislature this year, just how commercial appraisals are conducted. I think everybody, at least in the past, has heard of the dark store theory that went through litigation at the state level and is really hung up at that point. If anything moves forward this year, then we have at least a statement on how we'd like to respond to that and move forward. Any questions about that?
Any questions from the council?
Great.
Okay, moving on.
The next one, we removed, as the mayor has mentioned a number of times already this evening, we removed the statement about federal grants. There are a number of federal grants available, not only that we've been receiving and we've seen in Merriam, but is available at the state level as well, and we're utilizing that, particularly on transportation. KDOT's utilizing a lot of those IIJ funds, and we're very excited about that, and so there really just isn't a lot more lobbying, certainly to do from the state to the federal level, just because those are already available. But we are more than happy if you hear about ones that are, we probably know about them, but if you hear about ones that are of interest to anybody, please pass those along. We're certainly happy to research those and look into those. Any questions about that? Great. The next one was a great success within the last few years, but remove the statement on removal of sales tax on foods. That was addressed at the state level, and certainly we don't believe that there's going to be any more discussion about that. Any questions?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I did hear at some meeting that it was going to be brought forward that they accelerate the 2% into 0, but that's not going to get discussed.
They may accelerate it for sure, but that really won't have too much of an impact here in Merriam, and so we're just not necessarily
So
gonna be
we're
focused.
not trying to encourage them to go ahead and do that.
We certainly can if that is the will of the council.
I mean, it doesn't, like I say, directly affect us. I mean, obviously, we've been behind that in the past.
It definitely affects our residents.
We can
Yes, it
certainly
affects our
leave it in
residents.
there.
Affects our residents.
Yeah,
that's
it
correct.
would have no harm remaining in there for at least another year, because certainly they are going to discuss that again.
From ahead now, do we want to put that in then, back in? Yes, let's do that, Ms. Gard.
Great, I'll add that in. Anything else on that one? Great. The next one is we just updated the title, and there were actually some other just minor word changes in here, but we did update the title of the tax spending lid to certainly talk about the revenue neutral rate in the Senate Bill 13 that was passed in 2020 in that legislation, just because obviously it did remove the tax lid, and so we just wanted it better to reflect the actual legislation that it will certainly be talked about this year. And so we wanted to keep the statement in there, but make it more pertinent to the actual issues and what we will actually be discussing with our legislators. Are there any questions about that?
See none? Go ahead.
Same with the next bullet. We just updated some language here. The terms that are being used at the state level, instead of marijuana, it is cannabis. And so we wanted to just align our legislative program with what's going to be happening at the state level, just to remain consistent with our language. Any questions about that?
Nope.
Great. And then the very last one is everyone is familiar with the issue that we had with our budget submission process this year. And so if the state is going to review anything within the budget submission process, we would very much like to have a conversation with them about that due to the error that occurred. Maybe make it a little bit more streamlined and a little bit easier for everybody to understand and be able to submit. And so we obviously have an opinion about that and would be happy to talk to our legislators. Any questions about that?
Ms. Hands, go ahead.
It just seemed like this was an awfully nicely worded bullet. And I would like for it to be stronger in some way. I didn't make an effort to tweak it, but I'm just not sure that everybody's going to read that and know that we're not happy.
I'm more than happy to propose additional language, or I guess if you just trust us, we could make it a bit stronger if you choose to pass this evening.
Well, since you started out so nice, I think I trust you to get just a little bit more emphatic.
Excellent. We can make that change, add in back in the sales tax on foods. But other than that, those are the changes that we made this year. I'm happy to answer any additional questions, or if there are items that we didn't cover at all.
Ms. Yadrich, I think, has something.
Are any of our local state, like our personal state reps on budget committee?
I believe the legislature started today, and I should have
If
looked
they
into
haven't
what
assigned them
committees-
yet? Okay.
Yeah.
Or anybody in Johnson County that we might know of that we could reach out to and say, this was a problem,
Absolutely.
but we need to talk to you about.
Absolutely. I'll look into that
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that's a
Caitlin.
good suggestion.
And then
Ms. Hands.
I have just a little tweak. It seems like the K through 12 education financing is worded a little differently. It's simple, but I want to be sure where it's has SPED, that everyone knows that's special ed, or at least that's what I think you mean.
Absolutely. I can spell that out for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from Ms. Guard concerning our legislative updates and our wishes? Okay. Do you think you have your direction?
Absolutely, yeah. So we can you can consider it tonight, or I can make these changes and we can bring it back to a following meeting if that would make the council more comfortable.
Okay. Unless you have any other questions, then I'm going to have Ms. Rowe come up and address the council. Ms. Rowe, I think you're up next. And please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Rowe, and I live at 6621 Wed Street in Merriam. I have the legislative agenda, which was probably a draft, so I hope that what I was reading is correct, and that the things that I'll be bringing up, if they're not still correct, let me know. Also, thank all of you for just your service and your time. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate the fact that you are kind of representing me and the rest of the citizens with what you put forth as legislative items. So there were two things that as I looked at this that I wanted to talk about a little bit. I happen to live in Timber Ridge Villas, and we are 100% electric. We have no gas, so we don't have anything else that we can look at. And when I looked at energy efficiency and I thought about electric bills, I appreciated especially the last sentence where you said, we support public and private incentives to encourage energy efficiency and renewable energies by local governments and citizens. So I know that we're trying to do what we can do, but at the same time, sometimes I think what is happening at the state level is scary. And I don't know how many of you are aware of this. I do know that Cindy Neighbor is probably aware, and I think she is part of our legislative delegation that is going to be representing us. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I think she was on the Energy Committee.
That's true.
So she would be aware of this. But Kansas is doing pretty well in that we have a nuclear plant, and we also have a lot of wind energy out in western Kansas. And I think, I just hope that we are being wise and that we're going to be sharing this so liberally. I don't know if you're aware, but we are part of a 14-state group, which is called the Southwest Power Pool. And they are charged with running our regional power grid, which is really important. And they have proposed that there be an 89-mile transmission line from the Wolf Creek Nuclear Power Plant in Burlington to another power station in Missouri. This is not to bring energy into Kansas. This is to take energy out of Kansas and to help distribute it to the other 14 states. I don't want to be grumbly and I don't want to be selfish, but I think we need to be careful and I think we need to be aware. The people of Kansas paid for this nuclear plant 100%, and yet we are going to be charged to help build this line into Missouri, which I believe, let me look here, is going to cost $85 million. So I think we just need to be kind of aware of what is going on, and that as Kansas is doing pretty well right now, maybe we need to be aware of the fact that we're going to be exporting a lot of our energy. And I don't know how many of you knew this was going on. It has been approved by the Kansas legislature, and what they're telling us is that by sharing everything with all of the states, we'll all be kind of sharing together, and that this will actually help our electric bills go down. I'm not going to bet my life on that, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I just wanted you to all be aware of what is going on. Right now, there is eminent domain that has been approved so that this power line can go right through the farmers' fields. And that is hard for a lot of them as well, because if you've seen those power lines, they're huge. And it's hard to take a combine or whatever you may need to do through that. So this is one thing I just wanted to bring up. One other thing that I noticed is that on our legislative agenda, it talks about legalized cannabis. And I realize it's not legalized in Kansas yet, but I'm assuming that as cities are talking about it this way, that you are pretty sure it will be. And so I thought, well, does it do me any good to stand up here and just warn us once again of how very dangerous this can be to the people in our area? I went to Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, which is our federal government's administration. And the very first thing I saw when I looked up cannabis, I mean, they have a whole big page warning people. 1 in 10 people who use cannabis will become addicted. If they start before they're 18, it's 1 in 6. There is ample evidence now, especially for those of our youth who start using it younger, that they will lose up to 8 points of their mental capacity. I'm not saying that correctly, but it doesn't come back once you stop. You start using it, you lose part of your mental capacity, the brain is affected, and that's the way you are the rest of your life. I think that you're all probably aware of other things, the dangers of women who are still using marijuana when they're pregnant, when they're nursing, and other things like this. We know that people can be high on cannabis as they're driving. And you know, when you're behind someone and they're swerving, you wonder if they're looking at their phone or what's affecting them. I just thought maybe instead of just rolling over and saying, well, it's going to happen, that some of our cities, and I would hope we would be one that would just say, put on the brakes. Let's just wait. It really doesn't have to go on the ballot this year or next year, I hope. I know we have a lot of states that already have approved it. but I think it's a mistake. I think it's a big mistake. Those are just my little words. I thank you for letting me have some time to speak to you tonight.
Thank you for coming forward. Well, anyone else? Or I guess that was it for the only person we had. We didn't have anything in the public one. Okay, so having said that, and having heard from Ms. Rowe, we have on the next item up to approve the legislative agenda, potentially, if that's the wishes of the council. I would entertain a motion if somebody wants to do that. Okay, Ms. Yandridge, go ahead.
So with the approved changes?
Yes, with approved changes.
Okay.
I think we've entrusted Caitlin to take care of
Good.
that.
I trust Caitlin to manage that. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, with the approved changes, I move that the council approve scratch that. Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve the 2024 legislative agenda as written with the approved changes.
Sounds like a good motion. I have a second?
And
Okay, Ms. Haynes.
I'll second that.
Okay, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Looks like the next item up on council item is consider approval of a resolution establishing the term of office and the swearing in of governing body members. Who might be handling that? Mr. Wicklow?
I can take this.
Okay. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Yep, so this resolution is pretty straightforward. Currently, we have a resolution in place that says there is one opportunity for elected governing body members to be sworn in, and that occurs on the second Monday in December at that council meeting. If for some reason a council member is not able to attend for whatever reason, there's really no alternative. So then we would have a vacancy, essentially. So what this resolution will do is provide an additional opportunity for those elected governing body members to get sworn in. And it also mirrors the provision of the governing body rules that allows council members to attend remotely if they are physically unable to attend and can be sworn in that way as well. This year we had a situation that we thought maybe a council member wouldn't be able to attend due to extenuating circumstances, and we were all kind of scratching our heads going, what do we do? Luckily it worked out, so we didn't have to worry about it, but this kind of gives us another opportunity to get everybody sworn in the time frame that it's allowed. So it's fairly straightforward, but I can answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Ms. Pinnick?
I just want to clarify, it says at the next date. So it doesn't have to be at the next meeting. It doesn't have to be recorded for public viewing or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of, but I would defer to the city attorney. He did help with the resolution.
Correct. All you have to do is take the oath. It doesn't have to be at a public meeting. You also have to sign a written oath. Those are both statutory, but it doesn't have to be at a properly noticed meeting.
And I was certain that was true. I just wanted it to be said aloud. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. I would entertain a motion for that change then. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Shavetta.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that the council approve a resolution establishing the term of office and swearing in of members of the governing body. As the council member that this was the reason for, so.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Haynes.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Neal.
Aye.
Councilmember Ryder.
Aye.
Councilmember Silvers.
Aye.
Councilmember Yodrich.
Aye.
Councilmember Shavetta.
Aye.
Councilmember Hands.
Aye.
Councilmember Caldwell.
Aye.
Councilmember Leahy.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next items up are staff informational items. We have a January CIP update, which is in the packet. Does anybody have any questions? Do you want to
Happy to answer any questions if you do. It's
Okay.
been pretty quiet.
All right, pretty quiet on that. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Engel? I think he's going to represent our staff this evening for that. Okay, see no questions concerning the CIP update. Our November monthly finance report was also in the packet, which is looking good. I mean, does anybody have any questions? I assume Mr. Engel will entertain any questions if you have concerning our financial report.
And do my best to answer them.
Okay. Well, great. I see no questions. Well, you're getting off easy tonight, Shannon. Okay. Well, we have informational items. We have the Public Art Committee, which we don't have necessarily anybody from that committee that, but if we have any questions concerning that, it was in the packet. Mr. Engel will be glad to try to answer any questions that you might have.
I was at the open house. I can answer questions about that.
Okay. Any questions about the open house or anything? No? Well, we're just moving right along. Okay, well, Mr. Engel, do you have anything else from staff perspective that you'd like to address?
You
this
covered
evening?
most of my thanks to the first responders and Public Works for being out there taking care of us on the holidays. Well, we're at home and we're warm in bed and celebrating with our families. We've got our first responders that are out on the streets, and tonight we've got our Public Works employees that are out on the streets making sure that everybody's safe. So I just wanted to give a thanks and a shout out to them. And I will be out of the office Thursday through Tuesday. So Caitlin will be holding the fort down while I am out of the country.
Any questions for Mr. Engel?
Happy to answer any questions. Mexico, that's where I'm going.
All right.
Were we supposed to ask?
Yeah, there you go.
It's the most interesting question I can answer.
Well, have safe travels.
Phones will work there,
I will-
just in case.
I will check it periodically.
Okay.
All right, well, we have no executive session this evening.
No, sir.
Okay, so at this point, we went longer than what I thought. I was looking for the record. We didn't break it this evening, but sorry about the new year, but we gave it a good try. But I would entertain a motion at this time if there's hands.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second. Ms. Shandridge.
Mr. Mayor, I second.
Okay, a motion second. Madam Clerk.
All in favor?
I
Meeting's adjourned.